All right, guys, thank you. Welcome back for another episode of Two Dudes Talking 80s. As you'll notice, Lewis and I are both wearing our concert shirts today. And there's a reason for that, because we're going to talk about our favorite concerts that we attended during the 80s. So since we come from a hard rock, heavy metal background, there's not going to be a lot of stories about going to see Wham or Duran Duran. We saw those kind of bands later on. For example, tomorrow night I'm going to go see Hall & Oates, and I never saw them in the 80s. But we're going to be doing that, talking about what we did see in the 80s. Lewis, say hello.
Hello?
All right. that's the thing now. All right, so perfect. Lou, what do you remember about going to concerts in the 80s?
What do I remember? As we were talking before we actually got onto our little session here, um, looking through my ticket stubs, I didn't go to that many concerts in the 80s. I know that you went to a lot of them. So you're probably going to have a little bit more to say than I did. But what I liked about the 80s, the concerts in the 80s, I liked the people watching. I mean, is just, the everybody dressed in the 80s garb and stuff and the big hair. God, I miss the big hair. It was
Or hair.
or hair, exactly. But yeah, I really enjoyed the whole atmosphere of the thing, and obviously the music. I mean, I've got a soft spot for all the glam metal stuff, and we did really sort of gravitate towards that stuff. But there are a couple of things that I think that I know that at least you and I went to that weren't necessarily a heavy metal, like Taylor Dane. We actually went to go see her at the Great America auditorium, whatever it was over there.
Yeah, I was trying to think. Do you have that stuff? Because
I
I thought
do.
that actually occurred in 1990.
I
Because I
think
was
I.
going to include that. I was going to include that and talk about it. Now you ruined it. But,
Oh, you're right. It's 1990.
all right, so she's out.
So we
But
we
it
missed
was
it
a
by
great.
6 months.
Yeah, it was a great show because I looked and the release date of her second album, which is when we went and saw her, was October of '89. I think we saw the concerts a little bit later than that. But I'm going to start, if you don't mind, with one of my, I don't say it's necessarily one of my favorite concerts in terms of the music, even though the show is really good. For me, it was more about the experience itself. So back, oh God, this must have been like 1984, I'm guessing. The band Great White had released their EP, which I was a big fan of,
Mhm.
and they were actually performing at the Stone in San Francisco, a phenomenal club that sadly is now a strip club because we needed more of those on Broadway in San Francisco. But it was, I wanted to go see them, and it was actually going to be in conjunction with my 16th birthday. So my friend Katie and was going to go with me, and she told me, she says, "Hey, my dad owns a limo company. Maybe he could let us, have one of his drivers or him drive us in a limo." And of course, he's 16 years old. That sounds like the coolest thing ever. So we're all excited. I think it was on a Friday night, if I remember correctly, and we were going to go see Great White at the Stone. And for my 16th birthday. Well, a couple days before, my sister tells me, hey, that's an 18 and over club. You're not getting in.
Oh
And
no.
of course, me being the defiant little brother that I am, I said, yeah, we'll get in. Don't worry about it. Acting like I was cool and calm. But secretly in my head, I'm going, geez, are we going to even get into this show? So the day of the concert comes, and Katie and her father, who drove us, show up to my house to pick me up, and they're in an old English Rolls Royce.
Oh
Badass.
man. Oh,
So
nice.
badass. So we're driving from the Bay, from San Mateo to San Francisco in an old English Rolls Royce. I've got the long hair going, and I'm sure everyone's like, "What major rock star is in that car?" And was dying to figure it out. So we pull up to the Stone. We show them our tickets. They stamp Katie and I, and we go in. We're there early. I think it was one of my first club shows, so I wanted to experience it. So cool, we got in. We're good to go. We're excited about it. I proved my sister wrong. so, we get in there and we're sitting at a table, and I think one of the opening bands comes on, and the waitress comes by and asks Katie and I, and they say, would you guys like something to drink? And Katie was tapping her hand on the table, in time with the music that was playing. And she said, "What do you have?" And the waitress goes, "Oh, we have Coke, Diet Coke, Sprite, whatever." And then she looks at Katie's hand and she goes, "Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize you guys were 21. Whatever you want."
Happy birthday to
And
you.
she was, yeah, as two 16-year-olds were like, huh? So Katie very calmly orders a beer, and all I knew is I had tried beer once or twice, just taking a sip from my father's beer can. I always found it to be disgusting. And so I'm like, crap, what's a drink I can order without giving away that I'm only 16? So I remember my father ordering screwdrivers, right? I didn't even know what a screwdriver was, but I knew that sounded like that was an alcoholic drink, and that's what my dad would order. So I said, "I'll have a screwdriver." And so sure enough, she got a beer, I got a screwdriver, and we drank a few that night. Katie way more than me. That was a little embarrassing later on. But so the next morning, I wake up and I go to the breakfast table. My mother is there and my sister's there. And my mom's like, "Any problem getting in?" And I turned to my sister. I said, "Nope, not at all." I said, "Not only that, they marked us as 21. And my mom goes, "So did you drink?" I said, "Hell yeah, I drank. What do you expect? They marked me as 21. I wasn't going to lie to my mother about it. I wasn't drinking and driving. I was doing the safe thing. And yeah, so that was a very fun experience. A great time, and going in that old English Rolls Royce was great. I want to say we went back in like a Jaguar. So that he switched cars for some reason. I didn't care. I was happy to, be driven around and not have to drive. But that was definitely one of my favorite concert experiences. That was a good time. How about
Yeah,
you?
definitely one hell of a 16th birthday. Real quick before I move on to me, did you happen to get any pictures or anything of the Rolls or the Jag?
Back then, it's not like today where we have a camera with us all the time. You would have had to have a camera, you'd have to find it, would have had to have film. And honestly, back in those days, I never thought about that stuff. And I truly regret it. We started taking photos to concerts later on. We'd have those little 35 millimeter cameras, and we start bringing those to shows, and we take pictures and everything, and documenting that. But no, I didn't have anything.
Yeah, yeah. No, it was a different time for sure. Yeah, as far as a favorite concert, that's a hard one, especially keeping it localized to the 80s. I will say that a memorable gig that we went to, and we've talked about this many times, was when we went to go see Heathen. And I think that was at the Omni, right? I'm pretty sure it was at the Omni.
I saw Heathen a bunch, but I think the date you're talking about was definitely the Omni.
So, and that was probably one of the first times I'd really gone to local gigs, right? I mean, I think that I'd gone maybe to a couple of concerts before that, full-blown concerts, and not really into these, smaller clubs. And so when we went to Heathen, that was a lot of fun, especially, the fact that we got in for free, due to the mishap that as John and I were walking up to the front, the doorman that usually collects your money, he was away from the front of the door, tending to some guy that was it's like a homeless dude or something was going on with him, where the guy was laying on the curb, and I think there was a police car there. And I looked at him, and John just sort of casually walked in, and I looked at John, and I just sort of followed suit. And once we got in, I'm all, John, where do we pay? He's all like, just shut up, keep walking.
We're in now, brother. We're in.
We're in. And yeah, I don't think I'd actually ever heard of Heathen back then, but I remember really enjoying the show. I remember really, really being into them. And I think that was with one of their more original lineups. I think you said that it might have been the second singer, John, but I really, really enjoyed them. I thought that that was one that I'll definitely, it'll be in my memory banks for forever.
That was definitely a good one. Another one for me that I really was memorable was I saw Scorpions, Iron Maiden, and Girl School in Oakland. And,
Girl
again, we
school.
talk about, yeah, well, I was really excited to see Girl School too. But as luck would have it, we get to the concert, and it's not like now you show your phone or whatever, you show your ticket. You had to have a physical ticket. And I get to the show, and stupid me forgot his ticket.
Oh no.
And so, my buddy and I said, dude, just go in. I'll try and find you, which is stupid. I mean, there's like 20,000 people in there. How the hell am I going to find this guy, in that crowd? It's not like I call and text him, hey, where are you at? You didn't have that communication back then. So, as much as I made fun of my sister earlier, I'll thank her for this one. To her credit, she got in the car and she drove out to Oakland and gave me my ticket. Thank you, Leanne. I appreciate that.
Wow.
And I went into the show. I missed almost all of Girl School. I think I caught 2 songs. But then Iron Maiden came out. And, this is back when I didn't realize this was the first time I saw Iron Maiden. This was on the Number of the Beast tour. They just gotten Bruce Dickinson. And I didn't realize that they had come out. They would always come out to Doctor Doctor. I don't know when exactly they would start that, but so UFO's Doctor Doctor starts playing, and then the minute it starts playing, all the lights go out. So you're like, okay, Maiden's coming on. Well, they proceeded to play the entire song of Doctor Doctor. And so, it was just building up the anticipation. We're getting Maiden. I'm finally seeing Iron Maiden. And the lights went on, and Steve Harris was out on this ramp that was in the audience, and he started out with the bass lick for Wrathchild, and that place exploded. It was probably the most intense Iron Maiden gig I've ever seen. I remember Bruce Dickinson at one point kind of doing the Hulk Hogan thing and just putting his hand up to his ear, and it was deafening. He had the crowd in the palm of his hand. It was really an amazing performance. Probably the best, like I said, best by him, best by Maiden. And Scorpions came out. It was their Blackout tour, and they did this long intro, and up comes the riser, the drum riser from the bottom of the stage, and they're all on it like they're about to attack. And they go into blackout, and some dumbass hadn't turned on the PA.
Oh no.
And I don't think the PA started until the second chorus of Blackout, and they just could never get it back after that. Maiden had just absolutely destroyed them. It was all about Maiden that night. But thinking of Maiden, I got to talk about this. Again, we talk about our cell phones, right? You go to concerts now and everybody's shooting cell phone footage, and you can go to YouTube and there's like 80 million videos from the concert you went to. We didn't have that back then. You didn't have that. And they would search you. And so you had your recording device. So the following year, I go see Iron Maiden was headlining with Saxon and Fastway at the Cow Palace. And we run into the group of friends. So they kind of join us in line. And one of the dudes had a French bread. And I didn't know him very well, but I'm like, why does this guy have a French bread? Is he going to break out some brie later on and we're going to have like a charcuterie thing going on? I don't know what he was doing.
I thought you said a
really
French
bizarre.
braid. You're talking a loaf of French bread.
He had a loaf of French bread.
Okay.
I'm like, okay, didn't ask him about it. He was older than me. I was like, I'll just leave this one alone, whatever. Maybe he's making a sandwich. I don't know. So thought, whatever. We get in and we all sit together, and he breaks open the French bread, and inside that French bread was a recorder. He recorded the concert for us. So he had a tape deck a little small mini tape deck in there. And that's what that's how people bootleg concerts back then. And that's what he used. Nobody checked his French bread. So very genius. I was like, wow, that was a genius move. I never repeated it. But yeah, so we actually got that recording for that Maiden show that night.
That's pretty cool that you got the recording. I'm a little concerned about security quality. It's like, oh, hey, there's this guy walking in with a loaf of French bread. Copacetic, go right in.
It was the 80s. Come on. We're not checking French breads.
That's too funny. Going back, John, to something that you were talking about. with the tickets, it used to be that we didn't get to purchase things online the way that we did, right? You wanted to go see a concert, and if it was a popular concert, you'd have to go down to your local Tower Records or wherever it was that Bass Ticket or Ticketmaster was selling tickets at, and you'd have to wait in line and hope that you got one. They'd give it to you in one of these fancy little envelopes.
That's awesome that you still have that.
And then yeah, I've got some of the ticket stubs. I think I was mentioning that a lot of them are not from the 80s, and most of them were not actually. Uh, yeah, these are a little bit faded, but you can see the one from Bon Jovi, and you and I went to this one together along with your sister. And
Remember that?
I remember going there, and that was at the time that you were still in your band, Tramontane, and we were passing flyers like crazy. And even that before the show was a lot of fun. Again, that sort of dug the whole atmosphere and just everybody being 80s. Just it was just a lot of fun. It was really cool energy. And so I remember passing out a lot of flyers and stuff before the concert. And then when it actually hit, we actually saw Skid Row open up for them, and I think that
Yeah,
was on their debut album, right?
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah. And I remember after that going out and buying a Skid Row CD. But they were very, very good, very, very good band to watch live. And then Bon Jovi came on, obviously, and they rocked it as well. I'm really glad that I got to see them actually in the 80s, and I don't think I've seen them since.
I think I saw them that time, and I saw them. They actually opened for the Scorpions on their first album, Bon Jovi, and I really enjoyed them with Scorpions. But later on, it didn't really appeal to me. But so let's talk about probably one of the ultimate '80s bands, and I was lucky enough to see them in their heyday, Journey. So back in I want to say it was on the Escape tour. They had released the Escape album, and they were, playing two nights at the Cow Palace with Loverboy. I remember this because they added a third show, and it was a benefit show. I don't remember who it was benefiting, but they added a local band. Well, as luck would have it, my oldest cousin was a big fan and friends with this local band that was doing the opening for the Journey show. And so she took me to see that show. Loverboy didn't perform that night. Her friend's band was god awful. I'll never forget, she had a bumper sticker of that band on the back of her car. As we're leaving the arena, somebody rolled down the window. I don't remember the name of the band, said, "So and so sucks." And I'm trying hard not to laugh, but it was pretty damn funny. But it was a great show, and to see Journey in their prime and Steve Perry in his prime was something I'm especially grateful that I got to see. I remember years later, you went and saw Steve Perry solo. I don't know if it was still in the 80s. I think you saw him at the Warfield, and then we were actually scheduled to go see him. We happened to be in Lake Tahoe, and he happened to be in Reno. We're like, oh, let's go. And we all were excited, and we were all going to go. And then that show got canceled. So that was the one and only time I got to see Steve Perry. I've seen Journey later on with Arnell, who does a great job. But seeing the original band, or the classic lineup, so to speak, in their heyday was pretty special.
I remember, I think you even telling me about that concert back when we were in middle school. Because that's when you went, right?
Yeah, it
You're like
was
really
probably
young.
sixth, seventh grade. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I remember you telling me that Neil Sean, he was I think it was what song is it? He does like an intro solo where he's like starts to do like a triplet or something, and he speeds up and he speeds up and he speeds up. Is Stone in Love? No. Don't Stop Believing. Um, and I remember you telling me that as he was doing that, that he was looking straight at you. I remember distinctly you telling me that in middle school, and I thought, man, how cool must have that been? The guy's playing this guitar solo, and he's just looking straight at John. That must have been really neat. I don't know if you remember telling me that.
I don't remember telling you that. And it's, there are a few times I remember in concerts, things like that, but yeah, I don't remember that one. But how
Yeah.
was Steve Perry's solo? That was in the early 90s, I think, for you?
It was. So the story behind that was that my friend Dave Castro wanted to go see Steve Perry, and you're absolutely correct. It was at the Warfield in San Francisco. Great place to see a show. And I just did not want to go. I'm like, now I have no real. I'm not a big fan. This journey is okay. I did not want to go. And he's like, I'll buy you a ticket. Let's go. And so he didn't have tickets, so we ended up going to get it from Scalpers in the front, and we were able to get the tickets. He paid for my ticket, went in. Some lady opened up for me. She was pretty good as well, but I don't remember her name. When Steve Perry came out, I was absolutely blown away. I was at this concert totally begrudgingly, and absolutely blown away by his performance. He did a lot of his solo stuff, and then it got to a point in the show where he had his trademark blazer with the big tails come down from the top of the stage, and it comes right and sits right in front of him in midair, strapped to a rope or whatever it was, or cables. And he starts looking at it, like, no, I can't do this, guys, I can't. And everybody's cheering him on, and he has hair in a ponytail, so he takes it out of the ponytail, he puts on the blazer, and from that point on, it was just Journey songs that he did. And yeah, I was absolutely amazed, absolutely amazed. I'm really glad that Dave forced me to go to that concert.
That's very cool. I would have loved to have seen that. I wish we would have seen him in Lake Tahoe. That would have been great. So I think one of the